I was thinking the other day, we spend so much time trying to fix everything around us. Our job, our relationships, our finances, our followers. And we end up forgetting the one thing God actually gave us: control over ourselves. See, we keep praying, God, change my situation. But maybe God is saying, I'm not changing your situation until you let me change you. Because sometimes it's not that the world needs to shift. It's that your focus needs to shift. When you focus on you, not in a selfish way, but in a sacred way, everything else starts to fall into place. Because God can't bless the version of you that you're pretending to be. He can only bless the one He actually created. So today, I don't want to talk about fixing everything around you. I want to talk about refocusing everything within you. Because when your mind aligns, your life aligns. When your spirit grows, your circumstances follow. And when you start taking care of the inside, the outside begins to fall into place. Piece by piece, purpose by purpose. You can't control everything around you, but you can control what's within you. That statement might sound simple, but it carries a truth that can completely reshape how you see your life. Because so often, we spend our days trying to fix the noise, the chaos, the conflict that surrounds us. We stress over what people think, how situations unfold, and why things don't seem to go the way we plan. But what if the peace you've been searching for isn't out there? What if it's been waiting for you inside all along? Every one of us wants things to change. We want the people around us to act differently. We want our circumstances to shift. We want doors to open, opportunities to appear. But when life doesn't bend to our will, frustration begins to take root. We start feeling powerless, trapped, even defeated. Yet the truth is, control has never been about managing what happens around us. It's always been about mastering what happens within us. You can't stop the storm, but you can learn to stay calm in the middle of it. You can't dictate every outcome, but you can determine your outlook. Think about it. You don't get to control the words people say about you, but you get to choose whether you'll let their words define you. You can't control how someone treats you, but you can control whether you respond with bitterness or grace. You can't control every unexpected turn life throws your way, but you can control the attitude with which you face it. That's where your true power lies. It's not in controlling circumstances, it's in controlling character. So many people give away their peace because they're trying to micromanage everything they were never meant to manage. They wake up already exhausted because they're fighting battles that aren't even theirs to fight. But once you shift your focus inward, you begin to realize something powerful. Peace is not found in a perfect environment, it's found in a prepared heart. When your inner world is steady, the outer world loses its power to shake you. It's not about ignoring problems or pretending life is easy. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you will not let your emotions, your thoughts, or your faith be dictated by what's temporary. Because the moment you anchor yourself internally, you become unshakable externally. And that's what growth looks like. That's what maturity feels like. It's realizing that you may not be able to stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. Every challenge you face becomes an opportunity to practice control, not over others, but over yourself. When someone offends you, it's an invitation to practice patience. When a plan falls apart, it's a chance to practice faith. When things seem uncertain, it's the perfect time to practice trust. Those internal victories are what shape you. They build resilience, discipline, and strength that no circumstance can take away. And here's what happens when you start living from the inside out instead of the outside in. Everything begins to align. You stop chasing validation from others because you've already found peace within. You stop reacting to negativity because you've learned to respond with purpose. You stop being a product of your environment and start becoming a person who transforms environments. You become the calm in the chaos, the strength in the storm, the light in the darkness. You may not be able to control the outcome of every situation, but you can control how you show up in every situation. And sometimes, that's all God needs to work with. Because when you take responsibility for your inner world, He takes care of the outer one. The moment you surrender what's beyond your control and take charge of what's within your reach, you step into peace, power, and purpose that no one and nothing can take from you. God can't bless who you pretend to be, only who you truly are. We live in a world that constantly tells us to curate, to perform, to present the best version of ourselves. Social media has turned comparison into a habit and authenticity into a risk. We polish our posts, rehearse our smiles, and hide our scars because we think people, and maybe even God, will love us more if we appear stronger, happier, more put together. But God is not looking for the version of you that you think will impress Him. He's after the real you, the messy, flawed, uncertain, beautiful version He created with His own hands. We spend so much time pretending that we start to forget who we really are. We play roles that keep us accepted but not fulfilled. We hide behind masks that protect us from judgment but also keep us from connection. And the irony is, we want God to bless us, our dreams, our plans, our relationships. But how can He bless a version of us that isn't even real? God doesn't anoint the imitation. He anoints authenticity. He doesn't work through who you're pretending to be. He works through who He made you to be. When you look through the Bible, you'll notice that God has a pattern. He always meets people in their real state, not their projected one. He met Moses in insecurity, not confidence. He met David in obscurity, not royalty. He met Gideon in fear, not courage. Every blessing, every calling, every breakthrough started with honesty. Because transformation doesn't begin when you become perfect. It begins when you become real. When you finally stop performing long enough to say, God, this is me. The good, the bad, the broken, the hopeful. All of it. That's the moment He can begin His work. Pretending feels safe, but it's exhausting. It keeps you trapped in a life that looks right but feels wrong. You might impress people with your perfection, but you'll only connect with them through your honesty. The blessing you're praying for is waiting on the other side of your authenticity. Because God can't heal what you hide. He can't fix what you fake. He can't fill what you refuse to empty. So many of us think we need to earn God's blessing by becoming better versions of ourselves. But the truth is, God blessed you before you ever tried to prove yourself. He saw your flaws and still called you chosen. He saw your mistakes and still called you His child. You don't have to earn His approval. You already have it. The moment you embrace who you truly are, with all your imperfections and insecurities, that's the moment you make room for His grace to do what your performance never could. The danger of pretending is that it makes you dependent on other people's perceptions. You start to live for applause instead of purpose, for validation instead of vision. And as long as you're living for their approval, you'll never step into your anointing. Because your purpose isn't found in pretending to be someone else. It's found in becoming the person God designed you to be. The more you embrace your authenticity, the more your calling becomes clear. The more you let go of performance, the more peace fills your heart. God doesn't bless masks. He blesses hearts. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for honesty. When you strip away the layers, when you stop trying to edit your soul, that's when His blessing flows freely. He loves you too much to bless a lie. He's not interested in blessing the image you've built. He's interested in transforming the person you really are. And once you realize that the real you is enough, the raw, unfiltered, genuine you, that's when everything begins to change from the inside out. Focus isn't selfish, it's spiritual alignment. We often hear that paying attention to ourselves, setting boundaries, or saying no to certain things makes us self-centered. But the truth is, when you focus rightly, when you align your heart, your thoughts, and your energy with what truly matters, it's not selfish at all. It's stewardship. It's recognizing that your time, your mind, and your spirit are sacred gifts, and you are responsible for how you use them. Focus isn't about shutting the world out, it's about tuning into the frequency of what God is trying to speak within you. Distraction is one of the greatest tools the enemy uses to keep us from our destiny. It's not that you're not capable. It's that your attention is scattered. You're trying to pour into too many things that were never meant to be your assignment. And every time you say yes to something that pulls you away from purpose, you say no to something that could bring you peace. Focus isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. It's about learning to silence the noise long enough to hear what's eternal. There's a difference between selfish focus and spiritual focus. Selfish focus says, it's all about me. Spiritual focus says, it's all about what God is doing in me. When you focus through a spiritual lens, You're not neglecting others. You're preparing yourself to serve them better. You can't pour into others from an empty place. You can't be a source of strength if you're spiritually running on fumes. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for the people around you is to step back, realign, and refill. Because when your soul is centered, everything you touch is impacted by that peace and purpose. Jesus himself modeled this. He often withdrew from the crowds to pray, to rest, to reconnect with the Father. That wasn't selfish, that was sacred. He understood that public power always comes from private alignment. He knew that in order to fulfill his mission, he had to guard his focus. If even Jesus needed moments of stillness and focus, how much more do we? It's in the quiet moments of focus that clarity is born. It's in the still spaces that strength returns. So many people live in a constant state of reaction, pulled in every direction by what others demand or expect. But when you start walking in spiritual focus, you stop reacting and start responding. You begin to filter your decisions through purpose instead of pressure. You stop saying yes out of guilt and start saying yes out of calling. That's what spiritual alignment looks like. It's when your priorities match your purpose and your energy matches your assignment. When your focus is aligned with God, your life gains rhythm. Things that used to drain you stop controlling you. You start recognizing what's a distraction and what's direction. You no longer chase every opportunity because you understand that not every opportunity is your opportunity. You become intentional with your time, your thoughts, and your relationships. That's not selfish. That's wisdom. You stop apologizing for protecting your peace because you realize peace is the platform from which purpose operates. The world glorifies business, but heaven values balance. The world says keep hustling. God says keep listening. Focus isn't about isolation. It's about illumination. When your heart is focused, your spirit can discern, your mind can create, and your hands can build. You stop being tossed by the waves of circumstance because your anchor is firm in what matters. You're not running from people, you're running toward purpose. And in that place of alignment, you'll find that the things you were chasing begin to find you. Focus isn't selfish because it's not about ignoring others. It's about being available to them from a place of fullness. When your focus is rooted in God, you begin to reflect His peace instead of absorbing the world's chaos. And from that place, everything you do, every word, every decision, every act of love, flows with clarity, purpose, and divine direction. When your mind is clear, your purpose becomes visible. Clarity is one of the most underrated forms of strength you can have. We often think we need more talent, more opportunities, or more connections to move forward, but what we really need is a clear mind. Because when your mind is cluttered, confusion becomes the filter through which you see everything. You can't see what God is doing, not because He isn't moving, but because your thoughts are too noisy to notice. A fogged-up mind will always make a clear path look complicated. But when the fog lifts, when your thoughts, fears, and distractions settle, that's when purpose starts to come into focus. Life has a way of crowding our minds with constant noise. The opinions of others, the fear of the future, the weight of regret, the pull of comparison. All these voices compete for space in your head. And when they get too loud, they drown out the quiet whisper of purpose. You start second, guessing your calling, doubting your abilities, and questioning whether you're enough. But purpose isn't discovered in chaos, it's revealed in clarity. The clearer your mind becomes, the more you begin to see that your life has direction, your pain has meaning, and your steps have significance. A cluttered mind doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're human. But staying that way will cost you peace. That's why you have to learn the discipline of mental stillness. You have to create room in your thoughts for God to speak. Sometimes, the reason you feel lost is because you haven't been still long enough to listen. Clarity doesn't come through constant movement. It comes through intentional pause. When you stop striving to figure everything out and start trusting the process, that's when perspective begins to shift. You start seeing not just what's happening to you, but what's being built within you. A clear mind allows you to interpret your life differently. What once looked like failure starts to look like preparation. What once felt like rejection begins to look like redirection. When your mind is clear, you stop being reactive and start being reflective. You begin to understand that purpose isn't a mystery waiting to be solved. It's a journey waiting to be walked. And you can't walk it if you're weighed down by mental clutter. Think of your mind like a window. If it's covered in dust and smudges, you can't see what's outside clearly, even though the view hasn't changed. The same is true for your life. Your purpose hasn't disappeared, it's just being blocked by the noise. That's why clearing your mind isn't optional. It's essential. You do it through prayer, through reflection, through letting go of what no longer serves you. Every time you release a worry, forgive a person, or surrender a fear, you make space for purpose to reveal itself a little more. When your mind is clear, decisions become easier. You stop overanalyzing and start obeying. You begin to trust your intuition, that quiet inner nudge that's been trying to guide you all along. You realize that purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. And if your mind is too full of noise, you'll miss the whisper that was meant to lead you. The truth is, a clear mind isn't something you stumble into. It's something you cultivate. It requires letting go of distractions disguised as priorities. It means refusing to let anxiety dictate your actions. It means choosing peace over panic, faith over fear, focus over frenzy. And once you do, everything that felt confusing starts to make sense. You begin to see how the pieces of your past connect to your present calling. You start recognizing divine patterns in what once looked like random pain. When your mind is clear, your purpose becomes visible, because purpose was never hiding. It was waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. The clearer your thoughts, the brighter your vision. And when that happens, direction stops feeling distant and starts feeling divine. Internal growth always precedes external breakthrough. We often want the results without the refinement, the reward without the process, the spotlight without the shaping that happens in the shadows. But God works from the inside out. Before He changes your situation, He changes your spirit. Before He promotes you in public, He develops you in private. The breakthrough you're praying for on the outside is often waiting on the growth you've been resisting on the inside. Because if the internal foundation isn't strong, the external blessing can't stand. It's easy to crave visible progress. We want to see doors open, opportunities come, recognition grow. But if your character isn't ready to carry the weight of what you're asking for, that breakthrough can crush you instead of bless you. That's why God often delays what we desire, not to punish us, but to prepare us. Growth in patience, in faith, in humility, in resilience. Those are the invisible muscles that sustain visible success. What looks like waiting is often working. The soil of your spirit is being tilled so the seeds of purpose can take root. We live in a world that celebrates results but overlooks the process. No one posts about the nights they cried in silence, the prayers that went unanswered, or the battles fought internally just to keep believing. But those are the moments where true transformation happens. It's in the struggle that your strength is built. It's in the refining that your identity is clarified. Every season of delay, every closed door, every disappointment is God's way of shaping you for something greater. He's not just changing your circumstances, He's cultivating your character. Think of it like this: you can't build a skyscraper on shallow ground. The higher the building, the deeper the foundation has to go. The same is true for your life. The higher you're called to rise, the deeper your inner roots must grow. You might not see the progress at first, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Growth is quiet. Development is hidden. While everyone else is focused on what's visible, God is working on what's vital. Sometimes internal growth feels uncomfortable because it means confronting parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. It means unlearning old habits, releasing toxic patterns, forgiving people who hurt you, and trusting God when it doesn't make sense. That process can be painful, but pain is often the evidence of progress. You can't step into a new season carrying the weight of an old one. Growth demands release. And the moment you surrender what's been holding you back, space is made for the new thing God is bringing forward. When you start to change internally, your perspective shifts. You begin to see challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities for growth. You start realizing that breakthroughs don't happen when everything around you changes. They happen when everything within you aligns. A peaceful heart can withstand a stormy season. A disciplined mind can handle distractions. A healed soul can hold blessings without breaking. Internal transformation creates external stability. The greatest breakthroughs often come right after seasons of deep internal growth. It's like a seed buried underground. Nothing looks like it's happening, but beneath the surface, roots are spreading, strength is building, and life is preparing to break through. That's how God works. He develops you privately so that when the breakthrough comes, you're not overwhelmed by it, you're ready for it. So when life feels like it's not moving fast enough, remember that progress isn't always visible. The internal work you're doing, the healing, the learning, the growing, is setting the stage for what's next. Every breakthrough begins with inner transformation. Because before God can do something through you, He has to do something in you. And once that work takes root, the external breakthrough becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you were finally prepared to receive it. When you change your focus, you change your future. Life is shaped not only by what happens to you, but by what you choose to focus on in the middle of it. Two people can face the same situation and come out with completely different outcomes. Not because one was luckier, but because one chose to see possibility where the other saw only pain. Focus is powerful because whatever you fix your eyes on grows in your life. If you focus on fear, fear multiplies. If you focus on faith, faith expands. Your future begins to shift the moment your focus does. Every day your mind is a battlefield of attention. The world is constantly pulling you toward distraction. News headlines, social media, opinions, worries, and noise. It's easy to lose sight of what truly matters when everything is demanding your attention. But focus is not about seeing less. It's about seeing clearly. It's the discipline of directing your energy toward what moves you forward instead of what holds you back. And sometimes, the greatest miracle God can perform in your life is not changing your circumstances, but changing your focus so you can see the purpose within them. When you focus on what's wrong, you magnify it. When you focus on what's right, you empower it. That's not denial, that's direction. You can acknowledge the pain without living in it. You can recognize the storm without losing sight of the shore. The truth is, what you feed with your focus will eventually shape your future. Focused minds create fruitful lives. Scattered minds create stagnant ones. That's why Scripture says, fix your eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Because what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen, faith, hope, purpose, that's eternal. Shifting your focus doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means refusing to give them the power to define you. You might not be able to control every event that happens in your life, but you can control what you allow to consume your thoughts. When you fix your focus on what you can grow, not on what you can't control, peace begins to take root. Your future is not shaped by your problems. It's shaped by your perspective. Think of Peter walking on water. As long as his eyes were on Jesus, he walked above the waves. But the moment he shifted his focus to the wind and the storm, he began to sink. Nothing about his situation changed. Only his focus did. That's how powerful your focus is. It determines whether you walk in faith or drown in fear. And sometimes, the breakthrough you've been praying for doesn't come by God removing the storm. It comes when you learn to refocus your eyes in the middle of it. Your focus decides your direction. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you keep staring at your past, you'll never step into your potential. If you keep focusing on what's missing, you'll miss what's already working. But when you start focusing on growth, gratitude, and grace, everything begins to realign. The same world that once looked hopeless starts to look full of possibility. Because focus changes how you see everything, and how you see everything determines how you live. You change your future when you learn to discipline your focus. You stop giving time to things that drain you and start investing it in things that build you. You stop obsessing over what's behind you and start preparing for what's ahead. You start speaking vision instead of fear, and soon, your reality begins to reflect your words. Because your focus frames your faith, and your faith fuels your future. When you decide to shift your gaze, from doubt to belief, from chaos to peace, from what's gone wrong to what God can make right, everything in your life starts to follow that direction. Your mind clears, your heart strengthens, and your steps become intentional. The moment your focus changes, your future starts unfolding in a brand new way, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally started seeing it through the lens of faith instead of fear.